thousands of people have mysteriously vanished in America's wilderness. Join us as we dive into the deep end of the unexplainable and try to piece together what happened. You are listening to Locations Unknown.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Irado, and with me, as always, is a guy who, if he owned a store, would never charge too much for eggs, Mike Vandebogart.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you once again to all of our loyal listeners for tuning in. Just a couple of quick announcements here. First, I'd like to thank a couple new Patreon supporters. So, Sarah Hemmerich and Carl Parker. Kind of sad. There's only two. So if you're listening and want to help the show out,
it's probably Sarah Helmrich.
There we go. Got already starting off on a good foot here.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Helmrich.
So if also we've got a phone number you can call the show.
Yeah, Sarah, call that number and let Mike know how you feel about him saying your name, Hemmerich.
If you like us, hate us, have episode suggestions, anything, you've had a long day at the bar and just want to talk, call 208-391-6913. Just remember, anything you say on the voicemail could and probably will be used on a future show. So
yeah, I think the only thing we've ever bleeped out was like personal information.
Like an address or phone number.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
everything else is fair game.
Everything else is fair game. You can also support us on many different platforms if you like the show and want to help us out. Obviously, on Patreon, we have YouTube memberships. We have premium subscriptions on Apple. We've got a store on our website and on Facebook where you can buy some swag. And you know what? If you're short on cash, but you still really like the show, just tell everyone you know about the show and go to the different platforms and like the videos and, share videos with friends. And that helps us work our way up the algorithms.
Oh, yeah, that's just as valuable.
Yeah, and finally, this is kind of a new little mini-series that we're going to try out in the future. It won't be every episode in a row, but there's a lot of cases out there that are too short to really do a full episode on, but they're still important to get the cases out there. So from time to time, we're going to do a cold case episode on a different park. So today we're covering a couple cases from Grand Canyon National Park, which we've actually never done a case from Grand Canyon.
You're just spoiling the beans.
Yes, sorry.
Spilling the beans, spoiling whatever it is.
Spoiling the beans.
Yep.
So from time to time we'll be doing, I think we're calling it National Park Cold Cases.
Yeah, you're just spilling all the beans.
We'll edit all of that out.
No, we won't.
So other than that, I don't have any other updates. You, Joe?
No. All right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore Locations Unknown. With over 52 million acres, the U.S. National Park System is home to some of the most breathtaking natural features on the planet. Tens of millions enjoy the parks every year. While most visits end with the amazing memories, many have not. The official NPS cold case count stands at 29. However, independent researchers estimate between 1,100 and 1,600 unsolved disappearances originate in our parks. Join us this week as we begin the mini-series, National Park Cold Cases. So we're going to start this first series off with the Grand Canyon National Park.
Which I spoiled.
Yep, you spoiled. That's fine. I'm just giving you crap. I've never been here, have you? I've flown over it.
I have. I've seen it from the parking lot like near one of the highways as we were driving through. So
You like made a change, like we got to pull over and at least stop and look at it.
yeah. So I've been out of a car and have stared at it. It's really cool.
So you've kind of been there.
I've been there. I've never hiked it. It looks really cool. I think you can do it on horseback.
Yeah.
Which sounds really fun.
And it sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
if you're going up and down the walls.
Oh, yeah.
No thanks, but I'd do it anyway.
Those horses know what they're doing, though.
I bet no horses have ever fallen off.
No.
Ever. So, yeah, it's looked pretty from an airplane.
Yeah.
I've seen it mostly when flying to Vegas. So, Grand Canyon National Park is 1,902 square miles, so it's larger than the state of Rhode Island.
It's big.
It's big. It is in Arizona. It was established on February 26, 1919. This park sees roughly 4.5 million visitors per year. That's the 13th in the country, and those are as of 2021. Habitation history in the area. People have been a part of the Grand Canyon's history and culture from 10,000 years ago through today. 11 contemporary tribes have cultivated links in the area.
Cultural.
I said, no, I want to say cultivated. And their oral histories are rich with references to the creation of the Great Chasm and Torrential River. Some of the tribes are the Hopi, the Navajo Nation, the Pueblo of Zuni, and the Yavapai Apache Nation. From the 16th century on, tribes familiar with the region were guides and informants for the Spanish and later Euro-American explorers. So let's talk about some interesting facts. The Hopi tribe considers the Grand Canyon a gateway to the afterlife. The tribe has always placed great spiritual significance on the site. They believe that upon death, a person passes westward through a place of emergence, located upstream from the confluence of the Colorado and Little Colorado rivers in the canyon, on his or her journey to the afterlife. Temperatures vary greatly within the canyon. From the rim of the canyon to its lowest point, the temperature can change from more than 25 degrees. The depths of the gorge are notoriously hot during the summer, while the north rim is often below freezing in winter. In 1909, the canyon was the site of a giant hoax. The Arizona Gazette reported that archaeologists had discovered traces of ancient Tibetan and Egyptian civilization in an underground tunnel into the canyon. The Smithsonian denied the entire story, claiming that they had no knowledge of the archaeologists. To this day, conspiracy theorists still believe this may have been a government cover-up.
I had never heard of that.
So even if there were ancient traces of people there, they can't be Tibetan or Egyptian because they're not in Tibet or Egypt. So they'd be Native Americans.
Yeah. So, interesting little...
Unless they're claiming, like, Egyptians came to the canyon and settled.
I don't know.
But then they would be, I don't know, Egyptian-American
Maybe
settlers.
we'll have to cover that on a
you know what I believe with
episode.
the theorists? I think it's a government cover-up.
Yeah.
All right. Despite being the most famous, the Grand Canyon is not actually the world's deepest canyon. Depending on how the depth of the gorge is measured, the Arizona landmark actually comes behind the Cotahuasi Canyon in Peru and the Gandaki Gorge in Nepal. The Gandaki Gorge in Nepal. The most dangerous animal in the canyon is actually the rock squirrel. This is like, what's that movie with the rabbit? Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail. Remember the rabbit?
I haven't seen that movie in so long.
When they're trying to get into the cave and it's guarded by a little white rabbit.
No.
But it like lunges through the air and bites your head off.
I don't remember that.
Even though the Gila monster and bighorn sheep also live there, visitors are most often bitten by the humble squirrel. So yeah, it's by like sheer attack volume.
Yeah, it's by like the most bites of an animal.
Okay. All right.
They're obviously not dangerous.
Yeah, they're like it's not killing people.
Unless maybe one of them had like rabies or something.
It's just causing the most injuries.
Yeah.
No one is completely sure about the age of the Grand Canyon. It was long believed that the Colorado River started carving out the canyon 6 million years ago, but recent studies have shown this process may have actually started 70 million years ago.
Quite the difference.
And I know a couple guys that think it happened much more rapidly at the offset of the Ice Age.
Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I think it's out for debate.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll eventually settle that.
I'm sure they won't. But I love speculating about it.
Yeah.
The canyon is full of fossils. Though none of them are from dinosaurs, since the canyon layers were formed long before dinosaurs walked the earth, it is, however, home to fossils of ancient marine animals that date back 1.2 billion years. It's home to a huge mystery. The Grand Canyon displays a geological phenomenon known as the Great Unconformity. This phenomenon refers to the fact that 250 million-year-old rock layers lie directly against 1.2 billion-year-old rock layers. No one knows what happened to the hundreds of millions of years missing layers. I know a couple guys that have a theory that actually explains that pretty well. Like, their theory is that a crap load of water carved it really rapidly.
Yeah.
So that would make sense where it just dug a hole deep so you get rock mixed up. So to me, that kind of goes towards Graham Hancock and Alan, or it's Alan.
I don't know.
Alan and Graham.
Yeah,
they're much ostracized by the archaeologist community, but they have a great show on Netflix called
I have
Ancient
no clue, but
Apocalypse.
I love the speculation.
I love thinking about stuff. It makes my brain happy.
Makes your brain happy.
Did you know this, Mike? Fewer people have successfully completed a continuous, lengthwise hike through the Grand Canyon than have walked on the moon.
I didn't know this before researching this case.
You're supposed to play along. And then that's assuming that we actually walked on the moon.
Oh, boy.
That one I'm not going with. That one I definitely believe we've been there because you can see the landing site with telescopes.
Yes.
The air at the Grand Canyon is among the cleanest air in the United States. That one is crazy to me.
Yeah.
Because it's such a desert, arid area. I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's like when you go in the gorge, particulate doesn't get down there or something.
That, or maybe it's just in like an area where it's
so far away from people.
It's so
just
far away
is
from everything.
clean.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, exists because of the Grand Canyon. This I didn't know.
I didn't either.
In the 1950s, commercial airplanes often took detours over the park to give passengers a look at the marvel. In 1956, however, 2 of these planes tragically collided. The crash had no survivors. Sorry for the little giggle there, but that makes sense. Leading to the federal government creating the FAA. Oh, so they had an accident of 2 people trying to check it out and crashing into each other.
And that is, it's kind of interesting you think about, and go on a little tangent here, flying commercially is so incredibly safe.
Yeah.
And when you go to an airport and you go flying, you realize like all the procedures that you see in place and everything that's going on.
That's where Six Sigma quality came from, right?
Yeah. But think like, before 1956, there wasn't even a body that managed.
Yeah, they just flew planes wherever they wanted.
It was just, so I mean, it's
like, hey, we're going there.
It's
let's go over here first, cuz.
Yeah, it's relatively new, and I always just marvel at just how safe it is and how, if you think about how many planes and commercial jets are in the air at any given point.
Yeah.
I mean, tens of thousands.
Well, drinking and driving was not illegal up until like the last 40 years. Yeah. Did you know that?
Yeah, you used to be able to drink with like a beer open in your car.
Yeah, like you could be actively drinking and then just be like, hey, stop it.
Which, I mean, is still legal on a boat. You can't be in the driver's seat, but you can obviously have open beer on a boat. At least
the drivers could be drinking back in the day. They're just like, hey, you're too drunk, go home.
Yeah, right.
Definitely not advocating for that, but it's just crazy how quick things change and how things used to be acceptable that are not. Like randomly flying planes.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get into the description of features of the Grand Canyon. Our friends over at the Köppen Climate Classification System say that the Grand Canyon actually has 5 climate zones: cold, semi-arid, humid, continental, dry, cool summer, humid, continental, dry, warm summer Mediterranean, and hot summer Mediterranean.
Hot, what was that a few summers? Hot girl summer?
Hot girl summer? I think you and I are going to have a hot girl summer with some of the cool news that's coming up that we're going to tease a little bit.
Hot girl summer.
It starts in April. That's kind of like kicking it off.
Not sure what a hot girl summer is.
I don't know either, but it sounds like it's a fun thing, and we're going to have a fun summer, so we're going to have a hot girl summer.
Yeah.
We're going to have people call the number and tell us if we're using it inappropriately and if we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Well, I know we shouldn't be, but if it's bad...
We sound like 2 old guys talking about hot girl summers.
I'm almost 40. I'm 37. So I am almost a completely old guy.
You're like 10 at heart, though.
We've just alienated so much of our audience by saying hot girl summer, then calling almost 40 old. We're done for.
We're done.
This is the last one. You're not going to hear the announcement because everyone's leaving. So summer temperatures in the south rim at 7,000 feet are relatively pleasant, with high temperatures generally in the 80s and temperatures typically warming to over 100 degrees at the river near Phantom Ranch at 2,400 feet. I'm guessing that's the beginning of
lowest point in the park.
Okay. The North Rim summer high temperatures are typically cooler than the South Rim due to increased elevation at 8,000 feet, with highs typically ranging in the 70s. That sounds nice. Mm-hmm. Overnight lows can still drop near to below freezing occasionally on the North Rim, although typically low temperatures range from the 40s and 50s at the South Rim to 60s and 70s at Phantom Ranch. Summer thunderstorms frequently occur during July and August and early September with the potential for torrential rains. That would be real, and frequent lightning and sudden flash flood. That'd be cool to be in a storm at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
I bet that's just stunning.
So and not be down in
not in a flash flood zone, but maybe on the rim camping, watching it come
in your car.
Yeah, or that. Winter conditions on the South Rim can be extreme. Be prepared for snowy, icy roads and trails and possible road closures. Winter weather typically begins by November and becomes well entrenched by December and January, with frequent to light to moderate snows and increasingly cold weather. Low temperatures are generally in the teens among the rim. However, afternoon high temperatures still average in the 40s due to the amount of sunshine the area receives. That's crazy. They'll get snowstorms, then it will all melt, then it'll happen again. The terrain. The land is semi-arid and consists of raised plateaus and structural basins typical of the southwestern United States. If anyone's flown anywhere over there, it all looks the same.
Yeah.
Drainage systems have cut deeply through the rock, forming numerous steep walled canyons. Forests are found at higher elevations, while the lower elevations are made up of a series of desert basins. The highest point in the park is Point Imperial on the North Rim at 8,803 feet. The lowest point in the park is Phantom Ranch on the bottom of the canyon floor at 2,400 feet. So what are the types of dangers we see here? Besides the rock squirrel, we have bighorn sheep, black bears, which are very rare. According to the National Park Service, some black bears can be found in the conifer forests around the North Rim. Odds are you will not see them.
Yes, very rare.
And they're definitely not grizzlies.
No.
Mountain lions, mule deer, Grand Canyon bats. There are bison on the North Rim. There are elk, California condors, bald eagles, 6 species of rattlesnakes, scorpions, Gila monsters, and the treacherous rock squirrel. Tips for safely hiking the Grand Canyon.
So,
go ahead.
Oh, real quickly. So these are tips, kind of tailored for Grand Canyon National Park, but these would be good tips for really hiking.
Just hiking in general.
Anywhere in probably the Southwest. So I just wanted to make that point.
Little point. Little posty note.
Yeah.
All right. Know your abilities and choose an appropriate hike. This goes everywhere.
Yeah.
You will be hiking at high elevation in hot, dry desert conditions with a steep climb out at the end of the day. Everyone who hikes in the canyon for the first time reports that it was more difficult than they expected. Be conservative in planning your hike. Yeah, especially if your beginning is downhill.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, right, great.
This is great.
Uphill is terrible.
Yeah.
It's like 10 times longer than going downhill.
Yep.
Yeah, I think when we went to Colorado, we did a mountain. It took us 2.5 days to get up it and 4 hours to get down.
You know what?
Because it was so steep in some areas, you're moving at 4 to 6 times the pace.
It probably took me a good 4 or 5 hiking trips before I started getting better about how long I thought something would take me.
Yeah.
By looking at a map and elevation gain, and because if you're new to hiking and you get out there, you'll be like, oh, I could do 5 miles and
you think of 5 miles in a city on flat roads.
Yeah.
Versus 5 miles of terrain at altitude.
With 3,000 feet of elevation gain, you got 40 pounds on your back, and it's 100 degrees out. Yeah. You won't be going
you shouldn't have 40 pounds.
No.
Number 2 tip is be lightweight. Travel as light as possible. I always end up bringing camera equipment, which weighs the most.
Yeah, I always pack too much.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of this one.
Yeah. Usually, though, what we overpack is safety-related things.
Yeah, it's stuff that the chances of happening are super low, which I could probably not bring it, but the one time I don't bring it, it would happen.
And because we do this show, I'm a little paranoid, so I'm like, I guess I'll bring an extra 2 pounds of this stuff that I've never used before.
I bring more paracord than you would ever need. I don't think I've ever actually used it.
Yeah. At least we integrate it in our stuff, though.
Yeah.
I replace handles with paracord.
Yep.
And stuff like that. But, extra food than I'd need and extra it's mostly for me, it's camera. If I bring my drone, that's a pain.
Yeah.
So the heaviest item in your backpack should be food and water. Should be. Use hiking sticks to take stress off your legs. The jury's out on that. And that's funny that that's a contention on whether hiking poles are better or worse. I think they're better.
I think it
I think
depends on where you're hiking.
Yeah, they get in the way, but they help keep you stable, and they do keep allow your arms to take some of the brunt instead of your knees.
I do like, if I know I'm going to be hiking on a real ledge with a steep drop off, I do like having one on the drop off.
Put on the ledge slide.
Yeah, to just kind of be that extra little guard against.
You start losing your balance.
Yeah. I mean, that's just my personal preference.
No, I 100% agree with you. Also, when I'm hiking downhill, that's when you lose your toenails.
Yeah.
Whenever I hike downhill with the poles and I allow them to take a lot of the brunt, I don't lose toenails.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. Every time I hike downhill without a pole, I'll lose at least a toenail.
I always lose toenails.
Whenever I do with the poles, because I push them in as I go and absorb the shock, it helps. So that's just one non-scientific study of just me saying when I use them,
you and your toenails.
When I use hiking poles, I keep my toenails. When I don't, I lose my toenails. Wear well-fitting and broken-in hiking boots. That's a huge one. If your shoes are brand new, wear them to work for a couple weeks before you get on a hiking trip. Make sure they're broken in.
Shay, our first hiking trip in Utah, he brought his army boots that he had never worn before.
Yeah. Biggest mistake of his life.
He had a blister the size of his foot on the bottom of his foot from it.
Yeah,
so.
And that will ruin your trip. That will 100% ruin your trip.
For him.
Bring a small lightweight flashlight and a change of batteries and a bulb. Wear sunscreen, sunglasses, and a hat. Bring a map, compass, signal mirror, or whistle, first aid kit, and water purification tablets in case you run out of water. Keep in mind that all trash, including biodegradable, needs to be carried out of the canyon. Leave no trace.
That means human waste.
Yes.
Biodegradable.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yep. They usually have bags for you to defecate in that also smell like lemons.
Bags for a dog.
Yeah.
When you're walking up.
They're a little bit more. Remember
bigger.
The ones we got when we did the top down in Zion?
Yeah.
Everything smelled like lemon when you're done.
And honestly, I mean, not to get into too much detail, but
get into the detail.
I usually don't, when you're up at elevation, you're working that hard, you don't usually have to go to the bathroom that much.
Yeah.
Number 2 at least.
You're not getting enough calories.
Yeah, your body's just using it all.
Yep. If you can talk while you're walking, you're going the right speed. When you huff and puff, your body is not getting enough oxygen. Walking at a pace that allows you to be able to walk and talk means that your legs and body are getting the oxygen needed to function efficiently.
That's an important point because a lot of times the urge is when you start hiking to power walk through the hike, but you really need to just go at a steady pace. Think of it as a marathon, not a sprint.
If you plan right, you should have enough time to get in and out and not rush it. Take a break and avoid hiking between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. That's a big window.
Yeah.
Even if you are eating and drinking correctly, you still need to avoid hiking in direct sunlight during the hottest part of the day. Sun temperatures are 15 to 20 degrees hotter than posted shade temperatures. And keep in mind, the farther into the canyon you go, the hotter it gets. Watch out for the 4 H's. Heat exhaustion, heat stroke, water intoxication.
Hyponatremia.
Hyponatremia.
So
I'm going to look that up. I don't have our voice thing pulled up.
I may have spelled it wrong. I think
I was to say it's got to be something
hyponatremia.
Else.
I missed the P.
Okay.
I believe.
You just look it up and see, because otherwise I'm going to see if the computer can say this one, because that would be really funny. I bet it is hypo.
But essentially what that's saying
hyponatremia.
is...
Hyponatremia. Yeah, it even corrected it when I put it in wrong.
It's not something I've typically worried about, but you can, in a desert environment, think all right, I'm going to over drink water to prepare for this. And you can actually hurt yourself by drinking too much water, a given point. So...
It's like that the wee to win, hold your wee to win a Wii lady who died.
Oh yeah, she from trying to win a Nintendo Wii.
Yeah, drink as much water as you can and don't pee for a while. And she actually diluted her body so much of nutrients that it ended up killing her.
Yeah, it dilutes the salt in your body.
Yeah. So actually bringing along those packets are good. The hydration packets that you put in your water, those are very good.
The Gatorade powder mix.
Yeah, any of the powder mixes that have what are those called?
Electrolytes.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Hey.
Watch your time. Plan on taking twice as long to hike up as it took to hike down, and I would even say even more than that. If you're newer, it's longer than twice as long. If you know what you're doing and you're pretty fit, it can be twice as long and a little less. Allow a third of your time to descend and 2/3 of your time to ascend. As a courtesy, give uphill hikers the right of way. Bring a small, lightweight flashlight in case you end up hiking in the dark. Mules have the right of way.
Yeah,
So if there's a mule, get out of the way.
because they're bigger than
And they might make you go cliffside
yeah.
because they don't want their mules to go cliffside because they freak out and jump off the cliff. So
That's
got to
not
be
good.
careful. Overall difficulty, according to All Trails, Grand Canyon National Park has suitable skill levels for everybody with 37 trails listed, 37 trails listed as easy, 30 listed as moderate, and 66 listed as hard. So there is a trail for all types of people.
Yeah.
The easiest trail is the 0.1 mile Walhalla Overlook, a trail that is kid-friendly and wheelchair accessible. It's probably right off the parking lot.
Yeah.
The hardest trail is the Nankoweap Trail. This is how the NPS describes the most difficult named trail in the park. With 11 miles of exposure and a trail that comes within inches of hundreds of feet plunges, Nankoweap tests the mettle and skills of backcountry hikers. It has the highest drop of all the rim-to-rim trails at 5,640 vertical feet and is suicidal to attempt in the searing summer months. Nankoweap is unmarked and route-finding skills often come into play. It's rare to see anyone else on the trail. Cell phones don't work, GPS units are often blocked by the canyon walls, and help isn't available. So
That's how the National Park Service describes the trail.
do not
It's tough.
go on the Nankoweap Trail.
If it's
I'll
your
just say that.
first time hiking.
Maybe just don't do
do
it
it.
at all. There's lots of other rim-to-rim hikes that won't kill you.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good description of Grand Canyon National Park. I'm going to jump right into our 3 cases here. And I wanted to, because 2 of these cases discuss suicide. We haven't really done this before, but I just want to make just a note here for anyone, because a lot of people do listen to the show now. So if anyone,
Say right before the one that you're going to do that covers it so they can skip if they want.
Yeah, I mean, the first one doesn't have to deal with suicide, but the last 2 potentially could. We don't know.
Okay.
But so if you or anyone is in a suicidal crisis or emotional distress, you can dial 988 on your phone. That calls the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or visit 988lifeline.org. They staff it with people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in the U.S. They're not a sponsor of the show. We're just putting that up there just because.
You can put it in the notes.
Yeah, a lot of these cases we talk about theories, and mental health comes up a lot. I don't know that it's necessarily a theory and the cause for a lot of these, but it comes up. So and there's definitely a mental health crisis across the country. So if anyone listening needs help, you call that number on your phone, free of charge. So with that said, we are going to jump right into our first case, and this case, it's a child named Justin Richardson. Date of birth was June 6th, 1988. He went missing July 2nd, 2001 it's technically not the Grand Canyon. He went missing in the National Forest, which is just south, but I included it in the Grand Canyon case. He has never been found, no remains found. He was male, age 13. Height was 4 feet 10 inches, weighed 100 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, and he was last seen in a red Chicago Bulls basketball jersey and denim shorts. His nickname was Little Man, and at the time of his disappearance, his hair was shaved on the sides and long on the top. So this is an interesting case. It starts out June 29th of 2001. Justin was last seen in the area of the National Forest with 3 friends who were between the ages of 18 and 21. The group of 4 had gone to the area to allegedly party in the woods where they were to attain methamphetamine and get high. Other sources indicate that they had already been partying when they went to the woods, but it is widely...
He's 13?
13.
And they're looking for meth?
Yeah.
Jeez.
So
that's insane.
Yeah.
That's so young.
So they're not sure if they went into the woods to party or already been partying, but it's widely agreed that they were under the influence of meth and most likely alcohol. At the time, Justin lived with his father in, I'm going to butcher this town name, Tucson. I don't know if you can
Tucson?
find it. No, it's Tusayan. It's a small town located just 2 miles from the south entrance to Grand Canyon National Park. So Justin, and let's see, Joe's going to look it up here if you're watching on YouTube. That's what Joe is doing.
Tucson, Arizona.
Tucson, not Tucson.
Tucson.
So it's very close to the park.
There's Kebab National Forest. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the forest they're in.
See, there's the national park sign.
Yeah.
I love how that's on Google.
So
that's like right at the entrance to the park, it seems like.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's why I included. It's technically not. This one's not in Grand Canyon.
The airport is bigger than the entire town. Look at that. This is the town.
Yeah.
The runway is 4 times larger than the town.
Yeah, they said the town had a population of like 500 people. So very small town.
It seems like that must be a range outside of what I'm seeing here, because unless it's a commune. Look at there's like 30 buildings.
Not much there.
Holy cow.
So
I guess that's why they're doing drugs.
I don't know. But so Justin and his 3 friends became separated while they were in the woods, and 2 of the friends got lost. Justin and another friend went back to the town they're from and asked another friend to help look for the missing pair. In the meantime, the 2 missing friends were located by Grand Canyon Railway employees just south of town, but Justin was not aware of this. Justin and another of his friends returned to the National Forest at a spot 5 miles from town and 15 miles from where the previously lost friends had been found earlier. There's really no indication of the timeline of these events, but his friend, I guess, fell asleep at 9 a.m., and he woke up at around 5 p.m., and Justin was gone. When his friend awoke and could not find Justin, he hiked out of the area to a dirt road and hitched a ride back to town. None of the men with Justin reported Justin missing. Justin was reported missing by his father on July 1st of 2001 and has not been heard from since. Justin did have a history of running away from home before, and at the time, investigators believed it was possible he had hitched a ride out of the woods to try to run away again, and he supposedly knew the woods very well. So by the time he had been missing 2 weeks, an extensive search party that was about 150 strong began sweeping the area of the forest where Justin was last seen. They had helicopters, search dogs, both on foot and in vehicles. After interviewing the men with Justin the day he disappeared, authorities at the time ruled out foul play, although they continued to track the persons of interest in the case for more than 15 years, which is interesting. So now fast forward to 2014.
There is like nothing around this town.
It's desolate.
Like, this is it, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
This is the next major road.
Yeah, it's a freeway.
Look how far away that is.
Yeah, desolate.
That's crazy.
Like I said, fast forwarding to 2014 now, investigators stated that there was new evidence that Justin may have returned to the area of the now closed Moikwai Lodge in Tucson. Probably said all that wrong. In an interview with Joe Summer, a volunteer for the county sheriff's office, also a retired criminal investigator for the National Park Service, he said he did not want to share too many details due to the case still being open. Summer stated, "There has been no sightings, no calls, nothing to indicate he's living somewhere else right now. There's no evidence he's still alive, and he's not considered a runaway at this time."
Let's see what Google says.
Tucson.
Oh, so I think we got it right.
Yeah, all right.
Investigators do believe now that foul play is possible in Justin's case and theorize he could have been killed in the forest shortly after his disappearance. When asked if he thinks somebody knows where Justin is, Summer said, "I think so. Some people, presumably the older friends Justin was with, have been re-interviewed in the case. An initial suspect in the case, one of those partaking in meth use with Justin, is now dead, beaten to death in what appeared to be a case of mistaken identity." Captain Terry Lawson, who worked the case at the time, pointed out that it would have been very difficult for Justin to become lost for very long. He had been in the area several times before and had knowledge of the terrain. Helicopters constantly crisscross the skies above the area. Lawson said at the time, and Justin would have known he could follow them back to Tucson. Lawson also said there were numerous landmarks in the area, and a local resident like Justin would have known where, fences, power lines, dirt roads would have been, as well as railroad tracks. So law enforcement thinks if he passed out from drug use and then woke up, he would have been able to find his way back.
So I've never done meth, but is it possible, even if you know what you're doing normally on meth, he could have just...
Well,
all the videos of people I see on that drug are completely out of their minds.
I have a list of short-term and long-term effects of meth use. I'll get into that, and then we'll go into theories.
All right, then.
So just a couple other notes on this case. A couple sources stated that Justin had a girlfriend in Chicago, and they theorized that maybe he left on his own accord.
That's very shady.
And went to Chicago.
Someone from Chicago.
Yeah.
Not to be trusted.
And he's 13. That's what makes this all just weird.
So he's 13, had a girlfriend in Chicago, and he's from a town of 500 people?
Yeah, and they said that, maybe he was catfished, or...
I'm thinking he was catfished.
But we don't... This is just speculation. And then they said, other theories. On top of the effects of drugs, midsummer in that part of Arizona can be extremely hellish. The terrain around there is especially rugged. It definitely is still possible that he fell victim to the elements and his body is hidden away somewhere, or... his friends were a part of it. So before we get into theories, because obviously I've never done meth and you've never done meth.
Yep.
I don't know anyone that's done meth, so I've never really spent a lot of time thinking about it.
I don't think I know anyone that's done it.
But it's a pretty hard drug based on the
videos I've seen.
Yeah, based on the short-term and long-term effects. So these are the short-term effects that can happen just from using meth a few times. Hyperexcitability, dilated pupils, bizarre behavior, increased body temperature, erratic heartbeat, extreme irritability, sustained periods without sleep, loss of appetite and weight loss, nausea, vomiting, panic, psychosis, and violent behavior.
Sounds like a baby on sugar.
Yeah, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
And these are the long-term effects for people that have used meth for a long period of time. Extreme weight loss, serious dental problems, also known as meth mouth, decreased motor skills, impaired brain function, easily distracted, memory loss, skin sores, violent and erratic behavior, dramatic mood swings, hallucinations, paranoia, psychosis, cardiovascular damage, and structural changes to the brain. So jumping right into theories, if he's hanging out with older guys that have been using meth for many years, I could easily see one of them just going crazy and killing him.
Yeah.
And then they hide the body.
Yeah, I think...
either that or he had a medical emergency and...
like overdose and then they got rid of the body?
That or overdosed in an area that they just weren't able to find him.
Yeah,
it
seems...
the train is so rugged
I took a
and
nap and I woke up and he was gone.
Yeah.
That's very convenient.
I mean...
And it's a small town where maybe they're all troublemakers. So they're just like, whatever.
And you could see a medical emergency if it's that hot and he's dehydrated from doing drugs for a whole day.
Yeah.
Like your heart would just give out.
Yeah.
So and maybe the dehydration caused him to, like we always say, didn't think clearly.
Yep.
Wandering around. Maybe he injured himself. And I think we don't know the character of the other people he was with, but I think law enforcement
they're using meth. So there's one indicator of the character of the people he's with.
Yeah, so law
hanging
enforcement...
out with a little kid doing drugs.
A 13-year-old, yeah.
That's the character of the people we're talking
That's
about.
a good point.
Yeah, they're zero character.
Zero. Negative character, if that's possible.
It is possible. It's if you're an adult or an older kid and you are giving meth to a new teenager, you're a piece of trash and you have zero negative character.
It's bad enough if you're, doing meth with other people, but if you're giving it to a child...
Yeah.
That's a new kind of scumbag.
Yep. Just pure garbage.
I think in this one, I agree with law enforcement that probably foul play had something to do with it because psychosis, that means you went crazy.
Yeah.
So someone could have hallucinated and saw like a creature coming at him and threw a rock at his head and then came to and like, oh crap, what'd we do?
Yeah.
And you're still not going to be thinking clearly. So I think sadly, foul play came into this one. So,
no, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I think it sounds like foul play.
All right, moving on to our next case. The gentleman of this case is Drake Kramer. He was born in September 30th of 1993. He went missing on January 31st of 2015. He has not been found. His remains have not been found. He was male, age 21. He was 5'6" to 5'8", 135 to 145 pounds. He had brown hair, blue eyes. He was last seen in a gray-green sweatshirt, blue jeans, a dark-colored bandana, or a dark-colored baseball cap with a pattern and a black Adidas shoes. His father described him as a frugal, hard worker and a good student who loved nature. Medical issues. It was noted in all the case research I did that he may have been suicidal at the time of his disappearance.
Did they explain why?
They did not.
Okay.
And the family was, well, we'll get into that, but family didn't see it coming. So
Yeah.
he was from San Antonio, Texas. He was enrolled at the University of Texas studying geology. And at the time of his disappearance, he worked at a local Lowe's. According to family, he was very experienced in the outdoors, according to his father. Experiencing the outdoors, I think, is like wisdom. It comes with time.
Yeah.
I don't know how experienced a 21-year-old could be at it. I think.
Yeah. I had been seriously hiking and camping for 5 years, and I was not experienced at 21.
So, I mean, whatever. I was just thinking of that, experience. Sure. I think experience comes from doing.
Yeah.
And how much hiking are you able to do?
Yeah. Making little mistakes and learning.
Yeah. Getting lost, running out of water, stuff like that.
Yeah. All the things we tell you not to do is because we've probably done them.
Yeah. Experiencing this location, we're unsure on the specific location he was at, but he had visited the park several times in the past, so he knew Grand Canyon National Park. I mean, It's huge, so who knows to what extent. So story starts January 31st, 2015. It's kind of a range here to Sunday, February 1st of 2015. After a one-night stay at the National Park's Bright Angel Lodge, Kramer checked out February 1st and was reported missing the next day by a family member, according to a statement from the National Park Service. The family was surprised he had driven to California first and then on to the canyon. The last they saw him was on January 29th when they went to see the film American Sniper, and his family reported that he was in good spirits. They also said it was very unlike him to travel to places like the Grand Canyon alone, but he had been to the area 2 or 3 times before. However, like we said earlier, they claimed he was a very experienced outdoorsman. So, you looking at Bright Angel Lodge?
Yeah, it's right on the rim. That's probably beautiful. I'm going to look up some pictures
That's
of that.
the south rim, right?
I
believe so. I believe it's the south rim.
Yeah, it's on the south side, so.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
North is that way. So I
So
assume it is.
it's now February 2nd of 2015, a Monday.
Pull some pictures out there.
This is the day he was reported missing. So on Monday, a series of concerning text messages were sent to the family, which included one where Kramer wrote, "Loved everybody," and said he had to give his body to Mother Earth. This is what his father said. The family was surprised by the text.
He wrote that on a note or a text?
A text message.
Oh, geez. I can't imagine getting that text as a parent.
Yeah, so the missing persons report sparked a hasty search in the park's heavily traveled South Rim tourist area, where authorities found Kramer's car at the lodge where he had stayed. Since that time, Shedlowski, which is a spokesperson for the park, said park personnel have scoured dozens of miles along the rim and wooded areas, rappelled over the edge, and enlisted a helicopter for aerial supervision. She goes on to say, as of late yesterday afternoon and early evening, after 6 days of very intensive searching along the South Rim, the decision was made to move from what we call a very active search to a very limited continuous search. She goes on to say, we no longer have teams out on the rim working in a methodical system. Crews, when they're on the area, will continue to search, but it will not be the same search effort that was that previously occurred for the past 6 days. And this is, if this is the first episode you've listened to our show, this is very common in searches. At some point, they have to cut it back.
Yeah.
But they will continue to do training exercises in areas where people have gone missing.
Yeah, they know where all the people did go, so
Yeah.
they always know to keep a lookout for that type of stuff.
That looks like a really cool lodge.
Yeah, I would totally go to this.
Yeah.
That's really awesome.
That's cool. So this spokesperson continues to say, while the weather with daytime Temperatures in the 60s has been good. The terrain being searched, she adds, the terrain being searched, flat on top of the rim, but rocky and unstable just off the ridge can be challenging. There's trees down there, there's shrubs, there's rocks. The canyon walls are often shaded depending on the time of day. It's just a real mix of terrain, which does make it difficult to work in. It's unknown what Kramer was wearing when last seen. I know we had a description, but they're not sure on what he was wearing. Asked if there's any report he might have left the park. The park officials had no additional information on what, if he was in the park. All they know is his car was found there. So the biggest question on this case is, was the text foreshadowing suicide, or did he just text? Like, a lot of times when we go hiking, we're like, I can't wait to get off the grid for a week.
Yeah, but reread the text again. What was and that is like confirmed that's exactly what the text was, word for word?
Yeah, his father confirmed it. He said he loved everybody and wanted to give his body back to Mother Earth.
That sounds like what we think it might be. And
yeah,
I could imagine, like, if I got that as a text as a parent, I'd probably freak out and think of every other thing it probably could be.
I mean, it's got to be in context. If that person talks like that all the time, like, that wouldn't be surprising. Like, if they're kind of like, into, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but.
And I know we've talked about this in other episodes with suicide, but the big thing that we always say, and it's from what I've heard and just even working at the fire department and the ambulance, is the people who actually do it never show signs of it. And that's not all the time, but it's like most of the time. That's like a common theme is if there's someone actively showing signs, that's a cry for help. Yeah. And the people who go and commit, almost, I always hear it's like, we had no idea, we didn't know. But they end up, they follow a pattern where they'll give away personal belongings or they'll leave a note. Yeah. Like they always
like that text.
That to me, like,
because the family was like, we just saw American Sniper. He was in good spirits. They had no idea, like, he was potentially suicidal. Yeah. Oh,
that's terrible.
Obviously, I think the theory in this one, and this is what everything I read was, even the Park Service basically thinks it was a suicide.
I as soon as you said the text, that I'm like, okay, yeah, that to me is the note. That's his note.
So another
that's very
sad story. Hopefully, even though it was a suicide, hopefully someday the family will get closure and his remains will be found. Yeah.
We always hope for that in these cases. It's not the great outcome, but it's better than
just not knowing.
Not knowing,
because at least if the remains are found, they know it's done.
Yep.
Like, if no remains are found, the back of your head, you're always kind of wondering, like,
as a parent,
he's still alive.
Yeah, I've been irrational about my kids. Yeah. So it's very easy for us, not related to them, to go like, it's clearly this. But as like a father or mother that's dealing with it, you'd almost always have to keep the hope out that it's not that.
And you might find, sadly, if the remains are found, they might be able to do some kind of forensic analysis and determine maybe it wasn't a suicide. Yeah. Which, I mean, it sounds terrible to say, but at the end of the day, you just want closure.
Sure.
I don't want to dig myself into a hole here.
Yep. Yeah, don't do that.
So, moving on to our final case.
People who want us to get to the point on cases are going to love this series.
I know, right?
Like, you did 3 of them in like 20 minutes.
But then the people that say we spend too much time talking about the location are going to hate it because it was like 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, that was the same length, but we were nailed. We did a location one time for 3 cases.
3 cases. Yeah, we're getting more efficient.
Yep. We're extending a olive branch.
Yes.
It's too long, but I keep listening.
Yeah. It's for the TikTok generation.
Now we're going to get in trouble for taking time to talk about it.
I know. All right. 3rd case. So this gentleman's name is Morgan Heimer. 22 years old. He went missing on June 2nd of 2015. So same year. No remains have been found. He was male. He was 6 feet tall, 175 pounds. He had blonde hair, blue eyes. He was last seen wearing a maroon Nike hat, blue plaid long sleeve shirt, bright colored shorts, and a dark colored Astral PFD, which for those of you who are not boaters, that's a personal flotation device, otherwise known as a life jacket.
All right.
He was a professionally trained river guide working for the Tour West Rafting Company. He was from Cody, Wyoming, and he was enrolled in the University of Wyoming studying English. He was a very experienced outdoorsman and river guide and was an excellent swimmer. And experience in this location, extensive because he was a professionally trained river guide for this area. So this case starts off on Tuesday, June 2nd at 2015, 4 p.m. Morgan was last seen at approximately 4 p.m. around River Mile 213 near Pumpkin Springs in Grand Canyon National Park. Morgan said something to the lead guide about taking some time off that afternoon. The lead guide walked away from the cliff to talk to a client, and when he looked back, Morgan was gone. So it's another one of those, we've covered several cases now where allegedly the last person to see him was right next to the person, looked away for a second, and then they're gone. So
yeah, that's crazy.
So lost my spot here. Apologize.
You're looking at the screen. That's why.
Yeah.
I'm just pulling up Pumpkin Springs because I'm trying to get an idea of where it is. So Pumpkin Springs is right there.
Yep.
And
can you look up River Mile 213?
I tried. That's not
show up.
Yeah.
So do you see like a cliff or anything like overlooking the river?
Well, it says it's near Pumpkin Springs
so
in the Grand Canyon
the
National
river,
Park.
I'm guessing. What river is that? Is that a river? It's got to be the Colorado.
This is not
a river. That's
Rio Grande.
Rio Grande. Are there any other rivers nearby there?
I mean, yeah.
Well, I was just trying to figure out which river they were on.
Yeah, I'll keep looking. I'll let you know if I find it.
Okay.
It went pretty far because Grand Canyon National Park is there, so I might be in the wrong Pumpkin Springs.
Yeah, it's in Grand Canyon National Park. Are you?
This is Apache National Forest. That's why, because Grand Canyon National Park's up here. So there might be like that's a hot spring in Arizona. So I don't know.
Well,
I'll look it up.
Either way,
you keep going. I'll figure it out. And
like we said,
I'll let everybody know.
The guide, one of the other guides, was standing on the cliff right next to Morgan, and went to go talk to a customer, and when he came back, was gone, and never seen again. A friend recalled that now this contradicts the official statement from MPS, so I don't know how much stock we're going to put in this, but this was a friend of Morgan's who said this. A member of the group remembers him standing next to the party during a campfire, and the next minute he was gone. So the group was on day 6 of an 8-day trip. So Tuesday, June 2nd now, 2015, he was reported missing at 7:26 p.m. on the same day by a member of the river trip following a swim in the river by the group after he failed to turn up for dinner. Searchers said at the time he definitely has the skills and ability to perform the job and be a person we have a high likelihood to find. Oh, you found...
Well, what was his guide company? Because I just pulled
Tour
it.
West.
Okay, so this is not the same one, but this is Mile 213. They said it's a great place for cliff diving.
Okay, yeah.
For swimming.
Some of the comments online talked about the spot that Morgan was last seen is a popular spot for people to cliff dive.
Yeah, it's spring water. Okay. I'll keep trying to find it here.
Okay. So searchers at the time thought they had a high likelihood of finding him just because of his skill level. So it is now June 5th of 2015. And the search mission by the MPS was ongoing. Park rangers and search and rescue teams extensively searched the river between miles 211 and 225 and on land stretching from River Mile 211 to 215 around Pumpkin Springs. They then extended the search area to Diamond Creek, 12 miles west of Pumpkin Springs. Fellow employees of the Tour West Guide Service, clients on the river, and other river outfitters and their clients were interviewed. Now it's June 8th of 2015. We have a statement from the MPS. They wrote, with no additional clues to guide search efforts on land or water, the search will be scaled back to a continuous but limited mode in which rangers and pilots will continue to search for clues when in the area. In addition, flyers with Morgan's picture and description remain posted at various South Rim locations, and All launching river trips will be briefed on searching for him. Just some additional notes. The FBI and Park Service interviewed his family, friends, and acquaintances for any information about his disappearance and well-being. He checked out as a mentally healthy individual in the opinion of the investigators. So, interesting.
All right, so I haven't found Diamond Creek, but here's Pumpkin Springs, but here's Diamond Creek. It says 12 miles west, so that's right here.
Okay.
So that was a different Pumpkin Springs because that was like down here.
Yeah.
So it's around this area.
Yeah, it's got to be near a river somewhere.
Yeah, right. This is right here. This is the river.
Okay.
This is in the canyon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that other place was a different Pumpkin Springs.
So basically, this guy was standing. You know, they stopped for the day. It's in the afternoon. He was standing on a cliff overlooking the river, talking to one of the other guides. And there was no indication that he was in any kind of mental distress. The FBI and Park Service investigators interviewed everyone from his family and life and came to the conclusion, obviously this isn't ironclad, but came to the conclusion that he was mentally sound and not someone who would be suspected of suicide. So, what happened to Morgan? So despite the extensive 6-day search, he was never seen again and no evidence was ever found. And it's saying it was the Colorado River that he was on.
Yeah, here's Colorado River.
Okay, so you found
it. It was, right this area. There's Diamond Creek Beach. So yeah, it's like right around here.
So people, what happened? Did he accidentally fall into the river? Was he drowned and caught, at a strainer point? Did he commit suicide?
He was wearing the life jacket?
Yeah, when he was last seen, he had the life jacket on.
Interesting.
And someone online said the Colorado River at this section doesn't move very fast. So if someone fell in, it's not like you would be like just swept away. You would like slowly float down the river.
Okay.
Based on this comment, I have not been there in person, so I can't verify that. But I'm assuming if it's an area where people cliff dive, it's probably a pretty slow moving current.
Yeah, you're not going to be jumping into rapids.
Yeah. So, did he suffer a sudden medical emergency and fall off the cliff? So, he'd been working all day. It's hot. Did he have a heat stroke? Was he dehydrated? Possibility. Did he have an accident? Was he, taking a pee, to be blunt?
Yeah.
And slipped and fell.
Or like fell and had a head injury.
Yeah.
So like.
And then fell into the water.
Yeah, like that knocked him out.
So I think what makes this last case so strange is it's another one of those where someone was right next to him, looked away for a few minutes, and then he was gone. I think what is less mysterious is that he was on a cliff overlooking a river. So
did I talk about what happened when we were up in Apostle Islands?
No.
On the show?
Yeah,
So
you might have. I don't know.
I had an experience where that kind of happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was with my family. We were up in the Apostle Islands area, Apostle Island State Park. And
Minnesota?
In Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. Remember we went camping with Jack? Did you come with us when we all went up there? Okay. It's a long drive, but we went to the state park and there's this area called the Eagle's Nest. It's a big rock outcropping where you can go jump off into the lake. So we had planned on me and my kids. We had life jackets.
You go past Door County?
Oh yeah, it's to the top.
Okay, I've been up there, but not camping.
Yeah, so we were there and we were coming up and the water was crazy treacherous. So we're like, okay, we can't swim in this. There was a dad and a son that were swimming in it.
Okay.
And right as we walked up, the dad had just climbed out, and then we didn't notice at first because we were just, when you go into rock outcroppings and it's wavy, it's just cool to look at the water and stuff. And we spent half the time keeping our kids away from the edge for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And I saw the guy jump off, and then we were just walking around, and then some lady who was there too came up and was like, he hasn't come up yet.
Yeah.
And so
like he jumped just to like
he jumped off already to go swimming.
Oh.
And then he climbed up and he was jumping off again.
Yeah.
And
he
didn't
come up.
He did not come up.
Yeah.
And so I got my kids like away.
Yeah. They don't want to see that.
And he had a son who was older, like 15, 16 was there and like kind of like 1,000-yard stare, like not processing it. But we ended up getting like fire department, everything. Never found him. It took 3 days to find his body.
Oh, wow.
And like it was right there. So what I was doing is I got my kids out of there, had my son run to the front to alert the authorities because we had no cell signal. And I was just looking around to see, like, we knew exactly where he went.
Yeah.
And it was super wavy. Could not find. The fire department came.
Didn't have a life jacket on?
No.
No.
Up and down the shore, everything just in an instant.
Yeah.
And like I had watched him jump in and was walking around, and this other lady saw it. So it totally can happen that quick, and it like is almost jarring how it's just like, oh wow, he was just there, and like you can't process it. So it could have been. I theorized on that one because the waves were hitting the rock so hard. If he jumped in and hit his head and got knocked out, and the waves are so tumultuous, it like could keep you under from the force.
Yeah.
So if he hit his head and went under and got, like you said, caught a strainer point and anything, like it could just be that.
But he had a life jacket on.
I mean, if you float it downstream, maybe it's slow, no one sees you, you're gone, then you hit whitewater. Yeah. You could get trapped underneath one of those vortexes or something like that.
He wasn't reported. So say he fell into the river at roughly 4. He wasn't reported missing until 8. So 4 hours of floating down the river.
Yeah. Going to areas that are rapid.
The question is, stuck there. How quick is the current? Like how many miles would you float down the river in 4 hours? And you would think that search and rescue would know that. So I would assume when they said they searched a mile marker 225 on the river, they know how fast the current is.
Yeah, they're not just randomly picking.
They're not just picking a mile marker. They probably, all right, this amount of time has passed. Let's search this far down the river. But, I mean, maybe he took his life jacket off before jump. Maybe.
Yeah, like they saw him.
He fell with it, and then the life jacket floated away from him down the river.
If it wasn't buckled on?
Maybe it had unbuckled. Or maybe he had just taken it off, like, all right, I'm done for the day, I'm taking it off, and then he went to go to the bathroom and slipped and fell in. Him and the life jacket fall in, but then he's not wearing it.
Yeah.
And then he gets...
So this is, I mean, it doesn't show much. That is not whitewater.
No.
This is where people jump off and swim.
Yeah, so that would have been kind of right where he would have been standing.
Yeah, so that's like not a swift current at all. Now, granted, if it's raining or whatever, I'm sure it can change speeds, but... Like you said, if it's a place where people jump off and go swimming, it's probably usually not a strong current in that location.
My guess is I'm going to rule out suicide only because the investigators didn't think. Obviously, it's still a possibility, but I think what maybe happened is he was tired. He went up to the ledge to maybe go to the bathroom and slipped, hit his head. His life jacket maybe wasn't. We don't know if it was buckled or not. Or maybe he had taken it off because he's done for the day and then fell in. Yeah. And then he got stuck, went down the river and a bit and then got stuck in one of those strainer points. And the searchers didn't find him.
I'm with you, and I'm going to say freak accident.
Yeah, freak accident.
And just unfortunately, that's how it ended.
Yeah. So that's the 3 cases that I had. Not, sorry for anyone listening, not very cheerful cases this week.
I mean, are they ever really cheerful?
The one where the husband or the guy and the girlfriend were found was a positive outcome.
So the one out of like 70 or whatever we're on, 78. So 77 of the 78 are not.
So let us know in the comments.
Yeah, we want to hear your theories.
Your theories, and if you like these cases that we cover a couple cases with a little less information.
Yeah, I think if we sprinkle them in there, we'll be good.
Yeah, we'll sprinkle them in.
We'll always sprinkle them
in. We're recording a very fun and interesting Patreon episode next on the strange stuff that's been in the sky lately.
Oh, yeah. So it's going to be a fun...
It's going to be a fun conspiracy-filled episode only for paid subscribers. So if you want to hear that, you have to go to our Patreon channel.
Ooh. little...
I'll probably have to mute that because it'll be copyrighted.
It'll be like. Do you think they'll pick up like the 1 second whistle?
Maybe they're pretty good at getting copyright strikes.
All right, thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate all of you for listening and sharing Locations Unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the places where you can find our videos and each episode on YouTube as well. Also, if you'd like to support the show monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store to buy some cool swag. Additionally, you can subscribe to our Patreon account on YouTube and also on YouTube and also now on Apple, where you can do the extra and you can get that episode that we're talking about. I keep wanting to call it Patreon episodes. It's paid subscriber episodes. Yeah, if you want to hear crazy conspiracy theories and other theories that were conspiracy theories that became true because they're unclassified, you are going to want to get a Patreon or subscription and listen to that show.
Yes.
And lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.